It's the stock Aikens and Watermark book tag.
You said it right.
I said I've been saying it wrong the entire time.
All day.
This tag was created by JenniferLoves Books. Please check out Jennifer's channel. She's great.
Do it.
Just
Not now. Watch this and then do it.
Just subscribe to her blindly and then watch her videos when they appear on your feed.
Yeah, that's an
Keep
excellent
watching
line.
this video.
Yeah.
Who do we tag now?
And?
You want to tag Ange?
Yeah, I feel like she'll get the nostalgia vibes. Equally Sadie.
Yes. And I think I want to add my 3 co-hosts from the Discworld Readathon. I would like to add Katya from Read, Write and Create with Katya, Rosie Cockshut and Sina from Beating Around the Books. And what I like about those 3, the 4 of us could have done a readathon of so many different types of books that I was thinking about where our tastes actually cross over, and there's so many different spots that the fact that we're doing a Discworld readathon is almost random. Question 1. You'll Never Stop Me From Loving You by Sonia. Sonia? By Sonia. Reading's not my strong point today.
Today?
Problem. An author whose books you will automatically read, even though some of their books haven't lived up to your expectations.
Who have you got?
Alexander Dumas.
Mm.
Dumas ran almost a book mill in his time, where he would have ghostwriters and then he would apply the magic Dumas touch to them, which explains how in a 2-year period he wrote The Three Musketeers and all of the sequels to The Three Musketeers and The Count of Monte Cristo and various other books. He basically wrote as many books as Dickens wrote in an entire 70-year career in 2 years.
Smart businessman.
Yeah, not actually a very good businessman.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
He could have picked a more lucrative product than books.
He maybe could have lived within his means, and he did that thing where he ran away from his debtors.
Oh, smart, if not ethical.
Eat the rich.
What's next? Oh, no, me.
Your answer.
My answer is Octavia Butler, because Kindred was the bee's knees, and then the next thing I read was Earthseed, which I liked. It was no knees of no bees or other insects.
No teeth and no hens either.
But, still.
You spin me right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, round, round, by Dead or Alive. A book with so many twists and turns that you get dizzy.
The Kingdoms by Natasha Pulley. Just read it.
Just read
Starts
it.
with amnesia. It's very confusing. Perfect. Excellent payoff. Not just twisty for being a twisty. It's necessarily twisty.
Are twists necessary in a book?
Well, I wants to tell this story. You couldn't get from point A to point B in a straight line.
My book is And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie.
That's twisty?
That's twisty. The premise of this is 10 people are on this island, and then they all start to die one after the other. They're all murdered. The thing is, there's only 10 people here, so your pool of people who could be the murderer is slowly reducing.
I mean, I've got so many theories already, I haven't even started reading it.
And every time you think you know who the murderer is,
I think I know.
they're dead.
I mean...
You've not read it. Who do you think the murderer is?
The first person who dies.
You are incorrect.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, that is a spoiler. Now there's only 9 people who could have done the crime. But I think that's Christie's best that I've read.
Find him in the comments.
Too Many Broken Hearts by Jason Donovan. A book that broke your heart.
Oh, I find this one really hard, because I have no heart. What book broke your heart?
The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. I think this was my favourite book of the year before we started running a booktube channel. I think it's translated from the Czech. Mm-hmm. It's the story of this relationship between this couple. There's not a lot I can say about it that isn't a spoiler. It is fantastically written. There is something that is really heartbreaking, and I cannot tell you what it is because it's a spoiler, and I was just trying to think of a way to say it without saying it. Mm-hmm. So if you know...
But if you know, you know.
I think so. It's in many ways it's a little bit of a cliche sad thing, but it was just done better than anything else that I have read.
Well, yeah, okay. I think that probably Know My Name by Chanel Miller.
Ooh.
I think that broke my heart a little bit.
I mean, going into non-fiction is really... Yeah, no matter how bad fiction is, it can't be as bad as non-fiction, can it?
Yeah, because you can always go, oh, well, it didn't happen.
Yeah, also, if you can think of it, somebody's done it.
Ew.
I mean, not if it's, physically impossible.
There's that Facebook group.
What Facebook group?
Drawing Men's Anatomically Incorrect Fantasies. This is my favourite Facebook group.
Nellie's in a Facebook group where they take sex scenes that men write in novels.
Oh, not even just novels. Sometimes it's like sex people get. Like, it's just men describing sexual acts badly.
And they draw them.
In paint, usually.
Often the women look like giraffes.
Or snakes.
Or snakes. Or various creatures from mythology.
They're not humans. Because no humans can bend that way, is what I'm saying. Okay.
Love in the First Degree by Bananarama. Your favourite fictional couple?
I'm not going to name them by names because it doesn't happen at the start of the book, but the couple from A Watchmaker of Filigree Street is, I think, my favourite.
Yeah, that's quite a nice couple, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Bathsheba Everdeen and Gabrielle Oakes, mainly because I kind of like these couples
You just like
individually.
saying Bathsheba Everdeen.
It is one of Thomas Hardy's best names, and that is a man who can write good names. Mm-hmm. Eustacia Vi, come on.
Bathsheba and what's his name?
Gabrielle Oakes. They are the protagonists from the book Far From the Madding Crowd, and I just really like them as a couple. Found their personalities to be quite complementary of each other.
Ooh.
Also, Oakes is probably the least shit of any Hardy man in existence.
That's a compliment for a man.
Yeah.
You're the least shit.
Yeah. And of a Hardy man, which means you probably have a vague idea of the understanding of consent, but it is still vague. I Should Be So Lucky by Kylie Minogue.
I should be so lucky.
A book by an Irish author. Do you know?
She's not Irish. Do you know that she's Australian, people?
That's what I thought when I first read it. But
It's
you know,
the luck.
the luck of the Irish.
I understand, but still, she's not Irish. Frank McCourt. I read Angela's Ashes. That's my Irish one.
That's your Irish one. Do you have an opinion on it?
It was probably overly sentimental back when I read it in my overly sentimental teens. That's what I think of it.
Yeah. I recently read that as part of reading BookTuber's favourites books
Oh,
of the
whose
year.
favourite did I just insult?
Jen from Bookish Shenanigans.
Oh, sorry. It's my channel!
I read Before My Actual Heart Breaks by Trish Delaney for that challenge as well.
Oh, that's very high on my list. Because so many people who recommend better books than Scott recommends have recommended it.
So many. I just think that it's such a wonderful, straightforwardly a 5-star novel set in the backdrop of the Troubles, but it's really about the relationships that this woman creates throughout her life with her mother, with her husband, and with her children at various stages in her life, and how they're all broken because she is herself quite socially critical as well, and critical of the church in Irish society in the 90s. So what do you think it's criticising? Say I'm Your Number One by Princess. I don't actually know that song. Should I know that song? Do you know that song?
Ooh.
And the power's back!
Woo! Action Station. Off-grid living.
I think we're going to have to invest in some solar panels. Might not look like it's reliable on a day like today, but that sort of shit might not happen as well. I don't know that song. I think we've got the same answer here. The last few years, I've read the Booker Prize winner, and the best book from that batch is by far Bernadine Evaristo, Girl, Woman, Other, which I think is going to be your answer too.
No, my answer is no one is talking about this.
By Patricia Lockwood. I wonder, how bad does lighting have to be? Yay, we're back with good lighting! Go the ghosts of this house!
My answer is the Patricia Lockwood book, and no one is talking about this, because that clearly won both.
It's not coming back on this time. Just how bad is this lighting? No, it's pretty bad.
You can't see.
Yeah, I look like Two-Face. You are monochrome, and...
See, there's my nose in profile. It's teeny. My chin is bigger than my nose.
Your chin is bigger than your nose?
Yeah, see?
I think most people have that.
See?
If your chin isn't bigger than your nose...
No, your nose is bigger than your chin. Mm-hmm. Yes. I should be so lucky, 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 lucky. I should be so lucky in a blackout. I choose Patricia Lockwood's No One Is Talking About This because it clearly won both the Booker and the prize, the Women's Prize this year.
Did it?
Yeah, well, it should have. So in Nell's alternate reality, that's what we're choosing.
Well, I definitely think anything should have won the Woman's Prize other than Piranesi.
I've read it.
You haven't read it. It needs salt and a plot. The Harder I Try by Brother Beyond, an author you just can't get into.
Ian Banks, because he's shit.
I've enjoyed 2 novels of his.
2?
Yeah.
What other trash did you read?
I read Complicity the other day, and I still enjoyed it.
Wrong. Incorrect. Yeah. Terrible. Who's yours?
Mine is Virginia Woolf.
Ooh, hard agree.
I understand that Virginia Woolf is actually quite popular on BookTube as opposed to Ian Banks, who only should be popular on BookTube because he's talented.
Less talentless. You said it wrong.
I acknowledge that Virginia Woolf is quite popular, but...
And probably quite talented and stuff, but I just don't enjoy the product.
Virginia Woolf experimented and tried a lot of things, and there's a lot in her writing, but the actual act of reading those experiments that she did is not enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that.
Happening All Over Again by Lonnie Gordon. Favourite series/sequel?
I think I'm going to go with the Mad Adam trilogy, just because I think it's awesome. But we don't need to talk much about it. But it's on the quiet shelf.
Sequels and series. I think that they're rubbish and they shouldn't exist. And there are exceptions to this, but I think if your story arc goes over multiple books, abridge your story and say it in one book. No, just do that. There's no either or. How big does your story arc need to be that you need multiple books?
Sometimes they're big.
But when you have a universe and a world and you keep telling books stories in that world, even with the same characters but a different story.
And they're all sort of standalone-ish.
They're standalone-ish. So even though I don't enjoy Sherlock Holmes is a great example of that.
Yeah, also Discworld.
And Discworld is my answer to this. I enjoy Terry Pratchett's universe, and it's a very funny novel. Toy Boy by Sunita. Your favourite poet or poem?
I think my favourite poet is W.H. Auden, I think, still.
So what did Auden... He did the one about stopping the clocks, didn't he?
Yes, that's probably his...
Is that your favourite?
Best known. No.
What's your favourite?
Miss G is what it's called.
Let me tell you a little story about Mythetis G. She lived in Cleeton Terrace at number 83. She had a slight squint in her left eye. Her lips were thin and small. She had narrow sloping shoulders, and she had no bust at all. She'd a velvet hat with trimmings and a dark grey serge costume. She lived in Cleeton Terrace in a small bed-sitting room. She'd a purple Mac for wet days, a green umbrella to take. She'd a bicycle with shopping basket and a harshback pedal brake. The church of St. Elonius was not so very far. She did a lot of knitting for the church bazaar. Miss G looked up at the starlight and said, "Does anyone care that I live in Cleeton Terrace on £100 a year?" Care and year. My accent has changed from that writing because that does not rhyme anymore.
I'd be interested as to what accent rhymes that well.
Care, yeah, I can't do it. But the way Jen the Librarian or Kieran at KD Books say year, I think that would work. She dreamed a dream one evening that she was the Queen of France, and the Vicar of St. Elonius asked Her Majesty to dance. But a storm blew down the palace. She was biking through a field of corn, and a bull with the face of the vicar, she could feel his hot breath behind her. He was going to overtake, and the bicycle went slower and slower because of that back pedal brake. Summer made the tree a picture, winter made them a wreck. She bicycled to the evening service with her clothes buttoned up to the neck. She passed by the loving couple, she turned her head away. She passed by the loving couple, she didn't ask her to stay. Miss G sat at the side aisle, she heard the organ play, and the choir sang so sweetly at the end of the day. Miss G knelt down the side aisle, she knelt down on her knee. Lead me not in temptation, but make a good girl, please. The days and nights went by her like waves around a Cornish wreck. She bicycled down to the doctor with her clothes buttoned up to the neck. She bicycled down to the doctor and rang the surgery bell. "Oh doctor, I've got a pain inside me and I don't feel very well." Dr. Thomas looked her over and then he looked some more. Walked over to his wash basin, said, "Why didn't you come before?" Dr. Thomas sat over his dinner, though his wife was waiting to ring. Rolled his bread into pallets, said, "Cancer's a funny thing. Nobody knows what causes it, though some pretend they do. It's like some hidden assassin waiting to strike at you. Childless women get it, and men when they retire. It's as if they had to be some outlet for their foiled creative fire." His wife, she rang for the servant. "Don't be so morbid, dear." He said, "I saw Miss G this evening, and she's a goner, I fear." They took Miss G to the hospital. She lay there a total wreck, lay in the ward for women, with her body closed right up to her neck. They lay her on the table. The students began to laugh. As Mr. Rose the surgeon, he cut Miss G in half. Mr. Rose then turned to his students, said, "Gentlemen, if you please, we seldom see a scarcoma as advanced as these." They took her off the table. They wheeled Miss G away, down to another department where they study autonomy. They hung her from the ceiling. Yes, they hung up Miss G, and a couple of Oxford groupers carefully dissected her knee. That is a cheerful poem.
I really like it. I like it for a lot of reasons, but I think with what we know about uterine cancer and HPV now, it's super interesting, the idea that uterine cancer is caused by chastity. I just think that's interesting.
I didn't know that.
What?
Uterine cancer is caused by chastity.
Well, it's not. It's caused by HPV, which is...
human papillomavirus, yeah.
Which is an STD.
Yeah.
So the poem has it a little bit backwards, but interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a Scott book in a poem.
It's Eleanor Oliphant, if she hadn't made friends.
I don't have a favourite poem, but I used to have a favourite poem. And it's If by Rudyard Kipling. And the reason it's no longer my favourite poem is it's horrible. I just want to read the last line of it, and I think that a few of you might vomit in your mouth just a little bit. If you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. It's very much this idea of what is a man, and it's very prescriptive to an ideal, and it is a beautiful piece of writing, but the ideas behind it
are ugly.
And I think I was quite captured by this writing style and how beautiful it is. As I've grown older, it's, when you really like a song.
Yeah, and then you find out it's like a Nazi anthem.
Yeah, that's it. What do you mean Ayn Rand was a singer? I quite liked this, and it's a little bit toxic for me, and it's, toxic masculinity is one of the things that I cannot stand. That's why I hate The Beat Generation. Together Forever by Rick Astley, the book that has been on your TBR the longest.
What's yours?
I'm not actually 100% sure. I have 3 different options. One is Celebrated Crimes, which is a non-fiction by Alexander Dumas, where he dissects the crimes of Catherine de Medici or the Borgias or whoever.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's by Dumas, who obviously invented historical fiction, but it's non-fiction, so... Interesting, but I'm concerned by non-fiction that is nearly 200 years old.
Yeah.
The second one is El Dorado by Baroness Orczy, which is one of the books in the Scarlet Pimpernel series. I mean, of rubbish series, and I'm about to name them.
And what's the third one?
The third one, Da Vinci Code by Dan Brown, which I have never read.
And you shouldn't.
And I know I shouldn't, but the car crash that it must be for so many people to hate.
It's just really bad writing. It's not even that it's a car... it's actually a waste of your time. It's not like... Was it Kevy who read the worst book ever written and they...
Yeah, something Atlanta.
Yeah, and a bunch of authors intentionally created a bad book and it was satirical and funny. It's not like that. It's just terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so for me, the book that's been on my TBR the longest is Les Mis. It's got to be Les Mis. I've wanted to read Les Mis since I was a dot, and I still haven't. So,
like all good CDs, this tag has a bonus track.
Do I have to wait 12 seconds in silence?
Yeah, let's silently let it play. Especially for You by Kylie and Jason. Recommend me a book you think I will love. So we're going to recommend Jennifer a book we think she will love.
I'm going to recommend this. This is The Fat Lady Sings by Jacqueline Roy. Part of the Black Britain Writing Back series, which is a collection of out-of-print novels that have been republished and curated by... They were chosen and curated by Bernadine Evaristo, and she's written an introduction for each of them. They've got beautiful covers. There's half a dozen of them, and they all sound fabulous. This is the first one that I've read, but I do have all of them. The Fat Lady Sings. It's set in a mental institution. Two perspectives of 2 different patients on the ward. And one of them is there for being too loud, and the other is there for not speaking.
And I'm going to recommend An Ordinary Wonder by Buki Papillion. Jennifer likes Akwaeke Macy because she has excellent taste. Mm-hmm. And I think Buki Papillion is a similar sort of author. This novel is about an intersexed twin who is raised a boy but identifies as being a girl, and their struggle to come with their come to terms with their identity and with people putting them into boxes that they're not comfortable with. It touches on like bullying and corruption within Nigeria and sort of the longing to leave to Europe or the States.
Thanks!
Bye!